conflict is primarily in what she called community radio things, stations, and she called them vernacular. This is because in the newspaper, a lot is looked at by various people. When a story comes from the reporter up to the time it's published in the newspaper, a lot of people have looked at it. Even if something is leaked, maybe it's deliberate. Maybe they've decided to publish that. But the dangerous thing with radios is that it is one person or two with a microphone. And when people call, or when they invite people to speak in the studio or they are calling from outside, you do not know what they're going to say. There is no way of, many radio stations don't call to know what will be said. They just receive things, and that is that those gadgets she's talking about are not there. I do not know of any radio, maybe I'm wrong. I do not know of any radio station that has gadgets that take a call, then delay the delaying facility, so that if you don't like what you're hearing, you can stop it. Again, the problem with these radios is that majority of the people who are there in the morning or in the drive, whatever you call breakfast or drive time, the prime times when people are listening to radio, they are not journalists. I'm sorry to say, they don't like me hearing this, but many of them are comedians. Many of them are DJs. They didn't go to anybody's school of journalism. They were just taken because they have good voices or they look nice. They don't have a voice like mine. So they are taken there without any training. They know the language very well, and it's very dangerous. In fact, as of now, I'm dealing with a case in which one of our so-called presenters had a disagreement with some woman, and he went to radio and said, "This person is troubling me, and her number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Please save me from this person." And that is a presenter, and he's supposed to be a pastor. And he gave a name of some woman he had quarreled with, so that his listeners can help him to safeguard himself from that caller. I mean, if atrocious things that can be go through there, and the boss of the station had no idea until somebody wrote a letter to complain. Another person had a problem with the insurance, and she said this insurance company, she had insured a car, and when it came to payment, she wasn't paid. So she came complaining there, bringing personal issues into the radio. And those are serious matters. When it comes to vernacular, like you said, there are a lot of stereotyping. There is a lot of names given by various tribes. If, for instance, it's Kikuyu, we know what Kikuyu is called was, and we know what Luo is called Kikuyus. And that kind of language is used so that ordinary people may not know what is being said. Like she said in Rwanda, the Hutus were called cockroaches. Kikuyu is called Luo's Nyamu. So when you hear Nyamu, unless you're Kikuyu, you don't know what Nyamu is. You think it's an animal. So there is serious need for the government and for the media owners to think about the role of the vernacular radio station. True, they are very good in promoting our culture, but when it comes to cohesion, and now that we have counties, with every county being a different tribe, that's going to be very dangerous as far as I can see a lot of problems. I think, to me, that's the main thing. When it comes to hate speech and women, when journalists look at women, for instance, a woman candidate, like Martha, one journalist might want to ask, she's not married. Yet they don't ask about men, whether they're married, or how she was dressed. I mean, what does a dress got to do with somebody being an MP or a president? So those are those innuendos that normally would face women candidates. But why do people speak hate and why do people hate one another? Mainly it's because of politics and resources. Politicians would want to create hatred among tribes so that they're elected. And tribes might want to fight because of resources, like it's happening in Tana River. But you'll find that most of those hatreds and that animosity is caused by politicians. It is a business of journalists to keep off that kind of reportage. I know it can be done. I know owners or editors can decide to boycott, for instance, people who speak hate speech. We boycott them. Decisions can be made to balance stories, which is standard. Accuracy and balancing, those are standard things. But to those journalists who are not trained to know balance and fairness. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please appreciate all our speakers with me. I think we've thrown up a lot of food for thought, from gender and hate speech to implementation of media ethics and guidelines, legislative framework, social media, coded language, threats to the media and challenges of the media, as well as just a few other things that I'm sure will give us a lot of